teach the legitimate businessman. Lou Ferrante, welcome back to the Bob Rivers Show. We talked to you a number of years ago. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Bob?
Okay. Now, when we spoke to you before, we asked you the whole thing, like, how can you be a mobster and be out there and talking about the mob without having a hit put on you? And I think if I remember correctly, the answer is basically this. You did your time. You didn't rat on nobody. And you're a little bit careful, but you're also very interesting, and they leave you alone. Is that right?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. I told them I'm facing life, guys. If I got to serve it, I'll serve it. I told them I told the bosses in jail, and I said, but if I ever get out of here, ever, I will keep my mouth shut. If I got to die in here, but if I ever get out of here, I want to be left alone, doing my own thing. I had enough of the rats, and they said, you got it, Lou. And actually, I had a moral change, which went, obviously went with it, but I didn't want to tell them I had this big enlightenment time in my life when I'm thinking things through.
Sign of weakness.
They're actually finding out right now for the first time, and they're putting on hit. By the way, the guy who put you in jail, the guy who informed you, is in the witness protection program.
That's correct. If he's alive still, I don't know where he is. I mean, he was in the program. He was probably close to 60 at the time, and he went into the witness protection program. So, this was 1994. I got locked up. So,
do people look for
now,
do people look for people in the witness? I mean, you don't look for them, obviously. You're not living that life, but
no. I mean, had I stuck with that life, I probably would have went looking for him.
Right.
Yeah, but I changed my life. Let him do what he's got to do. I kicked myself in the behind for being stupid enough to do that stuff and deal with him and everybody else. So I blame myself in the end.
How long were you in prison, Lou?
I faced a life sentence. I had the best lawyers money could buy. I had Barry Slotnick, William Kunstler, and 7 other attorneys. I blew hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers, and at the end of the day, I copped out to a plea of 13 years. What happened was they weren't giving me and my co-defendants anything less than 25 years on a plea agreement. Otherwise, we faced trial, which we would face life. And at the last minute, they came down and they said, well, Lou's the the crew leader of the crew. I ran my own crew within the Gambino crime family. We were hijackers.
Right.
And
you were hijackers. You would intercept shipments and deal in stolen goods.
Yeah. You name it. Yeah. I mean, even too. I mean, if you came to me, I wouldn't turn it down. If you told me there's a vault with $500,000 in it,
right.
It could be a stationary place too. We did all.
By
that.
the way, I have to ask. I know this has been asked of you a zillion times, but not by me. Sopranos. You enjoyed the show?
So my first book. It was a memoir called Unlocked, and Lorraine Bracco bought the rights to the book rather. And when I was in the can, and the guys, the mob guys I was with, used to go into the television room every week and watch Sopranos. By then, I was reading history, philosophy. I didn't want to be bothered looking at that garbage on screen. I go, guys, we lived it. You want to look at it on TV now?
Wow.
How much do we need? We're here for that. So anyway, she buys the book later on, Lorraine Bracco. And now I never watched an episode. So I said, oh, man, let me go out and get these DVDs and take a look at them before I meet her. And I watched them, and I got hooked. The show was great.
Okay.
And now I know why the mobsters were watching them in the can. And I bumped into a guy from the Bonanno family on the street after I came home from jail. And I wasn't supposed to see guys. I had a list of 300 members of the Gambino crime family I couldn't associate with, or I would go back to jail, and any felon or mobster. So I told the guy, hey, listen, I'm in a hurry. I got to get going. I'm not supposed to be seeing you. He goes, oh, stop by the club. We're watching The Sopranos.
We're having a viewing party. That's hilarious. And do you think that you influenced the show in any way, that they read your stuff and incorporated it? Or
I think it all probably goes into the mix. Who knows? I mean... We were more like that movie years ago. The FBI compared us to the movie Heat. We didn't do the murders they did, though. Those guys were involved in some killings, but that was what my crew was like.
Yeah, you had a nice crew. Yeah, good guys, good health care benefits.
I mean, we came. I wrote a story in my book where we were staked out waiting for a truck, $1 million load. And some old man's crossing the street. There's 4 of us with automatic weapons waiting for this load to come out. We're going to hijack it and take the truck. And it's going to a fence in my family. Fence is the guy who buys the loads. And old man's crossing the street. He's got to be close to 80. He gets to the middle line. He looks both ways. He starts to stagger left, stagger right. And you could see he's getting dizzy from the traffic going. And he takes a spill. And the 4 of us leaped out of the car, ran to the stopped traffic. We got guns tucked in our belts. Everyone sees us. And we pull the old man to the side of the road, get him up on his feet, get him walking again. And I said, guys, There's 5,000 witnesses. We all got guns on us. Let's get the hell out of here.
You couldn't do your job.
We hopped in the car and left. Yeah, but let me tell you something. That's the kind of guys we were.
We were good mobsters. Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, you're going to have listeners that are going to go, "You weren't good. You were doing a stick up." We weren't good. We were bad guys. But you know what? We came from good homes. We were raised right. We just did bad things, and we didn't have really like evil intentions. You know, by the grace of God, we never killed anybody, or my crew was out for the money. And you know what? I do business with people nowadays that regular businessmen that they ski fots, the things they do. They're
yeah.
And you're like, I would never do that. Even in the mob, I wouldn't do business like that. They don't keep their word. You encounter a lot of that. Yeah, they're not breaking nobody's legs with a baseball bat only because they go to jail and they're scared to do that, or they probably would.
They're not actually.
They're all Harvard graduates. They wouldn't get in the middle of the street to help an old man.
They wouldn't help an old man. Yes, Joe, go ahead.
Exactly. Let me tell you something. I pulled over one time to help a guy too with a flat. There was a long traffic jam, and this was in my heyday. And I see this guy trying to fix a flat with one arm. And I was the only guy who pulled over. And I said, man, 5,000 cars passed this guy. Nobody pulled over to help him. You could see he's got one arm. He's trying to turn a lug nut wrench. But anyway, you never know.
You never know.
People are different.
As truck hijackers, Lou, I know you're going for cash. Obviously, if you can get it, you're going for jewelry. You're going for valuable stuff. Did you ever hijack the wrong truck and you open it up and it's like a load of butter or something?
I had that. So yeah, I wrote about it I kept all the stuff I wrote about in my first book was stuff I was charged with, and we were charged with a hijacking. We got a tip on a truckload of Victoria's Secrets. So I'm like, wow. So I go to my fence. I said, Victoria's Secrets, a load of it. He goes, oh, man, them things are expensive. I buy them for my gumata. He said, forget about it. So we go and we hijack the truck. We grab the truck, and it ended up being 250,000. Those, them big cone cup braziers? My grandmother Josie used to wear them on the porch.
Sure she did.
She used to drink iced coffee and wear this big brazier. I used to go, Nana, please, go inside. You're embarrassing me. She goes, oh, it's like a bikini top. Don't bother me. But anyway, that's what I got. I got 250,000 of those going to Kmart. They weren't worth $1 a piece. And I couldn't even sell them because who sells them? I mean, I got to go to Kmart and say, you guys want braziers? So my fence goes, I can't do nothing with those. So you never know.
Where'd you end up doing with them?
We ended up going to a guy who knew another guy who owned dollar stores.
That's where they ended up.
I'll take them and put them in my dollar stores. And then I think they lost part of the load, too, in the end.
Lou Ferrante. Lou, Inside the Gangster's Code on TV. It's in 200 countries. It's on the Discovery Channel tonight at 8. What is Inside the Gangster's Code going to show me?
So your listeners, I promise you, have never seen a show like this television ever. This show is off the charts. I go in, not like a journalist, I go in like one of these guys. I hang out with them inside the prisons, and I live in maximum security prisons with guys. I go meet the top bosses on the street in private, and I could talk to them like nobody else has ever talked to them. And we get to the nitty-gritty of things, what makes them tick, what the gang does for a living, who they killed, who they might kill next. You name it, we do it. The show aired. We got over 100 million viewers worldwide. I was nominated for the highest documentary award in England. I edged out David Attenborough and made the Final Four. And the show did so well that the U.S. picked it up, and they put it on. And tonight, from 8 to 10 on Discovery Channel, over by you, it's a little earlier. But check your listings, DVR it, watch it, Facebook it, Twitter it. Everybody will be blown away. I go in, Philippines is the first episode is the Camorra, which is the Naples Mafia. The second episode is the Philippines. I lock into a prison with 20,000 murderers, and it's a world of its own. They found a dead body, skeleton bones, in the prison, and they thought the guy escaped like 7 or 8 years ago, and he'd been dead and buried in the prison all that time. I mean, the place is crazy.
You travel the world doing this. How hard is it to travel as a former Gambino family member? When you go to the customs, do they say, oh, Lou, yeah, no problem? Or do you get a lot of scrutiny at borders?
I landed in El Salvador, and they asked me what I'm doing there at customs. And I said to them, I'm going into Izalco prison to meet with the 18th Street gang. And he goes, you got balls, and stamped my passport.
That's awesome. All right, now you also have a book, Mob Rules: What the Mafia Can Teach the Legitimate Businessman. Give me an example of how you talked about how you take care of people, and I get that. But give me another example about something a legitimate business can learn from the way the mob does business.
Okay, so here's the thing. Don't build Yankee Stadium. Just supply the concrete. That's one of my chapters. The mob has a way of taking a look at something, and you might not be able to get the big contract. You might not be able to distribute for Microsoft or what have you. But there's a million other ways to make money, and the mob has a way of seeing almost like a 3D vision of Yankee Stadium and saying, if I can't get the contract to build the stadium for the $500 million that's going to get paid, I could get the contract for the seats. I could get the contract for the sod, maybe the signboard, maybe supply the hot dogs, maybe the beer. And they go after it like piranha, all these little things that go into it, and they won't leave any stone unturned. And that's how the mob works. And any small business, medium-sized business, even big business, should constantly be looking for new avenues of revenue in case we live in an age where things happen today, new technology comes out tomorrow, the other one's done, obsolete.
I got it, Lou. I got it. I got 250,000 bullet bras with an N on one cup and a Y on the other.
I'll tell you what, slingshots. There we go.
There you go.
We'll sell them as slingshots.
Pinstripe.
And we have that here in Seattle, where we have legalized marijuana, and it's impossible to get the state permits to grow the stuff, but all the electricians are making a killing, all of the lawyers are making, everyone who's in the peripheral businesses is making a killing.
There you go. That's a perfect lesson. There you go. So if the mob was in Seattle right now, they would say, the heck with the pot. Who cares? Hone in on everything else.